And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Hecate, we have the German Protoss player. Representing Berlin International Gaming, he just took down the reigning world champion. It is ShoWTimE. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player. Representing Team Onside, it is Ryung. Shin pasta. Oh. I didn't make pasta out of instant noodles. That's the next level of degeneracy. Next level. Shaking my head. That does sound tasty though. Next time. It's like, although making pasta with instant noodles, the potential, it's there. Shaking my head. Catching up in the chat. As for now, we do see Ryung just chilling back at home. We are going for a racked expand. We do have only a single gas being taken here from our Terran player, so it should be an economic opener out of Ryung for the time being. I expect this to be more of a standard setup here compared to what we saw from Oliveira. Oliveira was just hyper aggressive in that last game, constantly trying to be in the face of ShoWTimE, at least until the third game where the roles are reversed a little bit. But at least this time ShoWTimE is able to expand on location without too much issue. Yeah. Gerald and Cyril should make a 2v2 team called Gerald. Ice time. What's wrong with you? What's you have to shake? I'm shaking my head. Shaking my head. It's the other game again. Economic opener here out of Ryung, going for a racked expand into factory. Likewise, economic opener out of ShoWTimE. Workers just moving out, just trying to get a read on each other. Reaper is on the way. I'm just catching up in the chat. Catching up. Max X Ranger probably. Still in the first map versus Lambo. Yeah, I imagine they're being covered by Brody. I mean, they've got that. It's fine. We'll stay split up. I'm happy for that. Wardy's on the solo series? Yeah, makes sense. Like the solo series against Beyond is looking really good. So it makes sense that they would split up in those directions. It's okay. It's okay. We know what we want. Behind this, we're getting into our second racks as well. So yeah, we do have quite an aggressive start here actually. So Ryung, instead of going for a 1-1-1, instead of going for his starport, he delays his starport in favor of a second rack. So he's going to be building up quite a large army, quite a large ground force. Now, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. This means that Ryung, he's going to have a big power spike when he moves out. This is true. But on the downside, he has to rely on this Reaper to scout. He won't have an early medevac drop, like a mine drop or a marine drop or anything to scout his opponents. He does get eyes on the starport, though. The Stargate even does see the Oracle. Ryung is getting in position. He has his first Cyclone. Second Cyclone is on the way, again, to just deal with this Oracle. Important to take note of as well is that ShoWTimE is going for an Oracle first. Interesting choice. A very aggressive variation here. God, I'm dying. Aggressive opener out of ShoWTimE. Looking for some economic damage, but alas, he does not find a way in. He knows he got scouted, he backs off. He takes the third. So yeah, just really interesting to go for a Stargate opener and not to go Phoenixes. That's what I'm putting emphasis on here. The fact that he went Oracle instead, looking for some damage, less so looking for like a secure mid-game. Going Adepts alongside this as well. We'll see if ShoWTimE can kill any SCVs. We shall see. They can go chase whatever trendy players they want. True, true. I've got my tuna here, okay? We're good. I'm happy with my tuna, Terran. So now stasis traps are being thrown down. Again, we have Marines at the natural. Cyclones in the main. We should be safe and secure against these Oracles. We should be, but it's also possible that ShoWTimE still is able to find some damage as he threatens a dive into that natural. He gets one SCV, but only one. Behind this, because we haven't seen any Phoenixes, we should be seeing Charge, and there it is, Twilight Council into Charge. So we're just switching into a ground-oriented army. Charge us alongside Colossus here. We have the Bay on the way. As the Oracles take a lot of hits. So again, the downside here is that honestly, ShoWTimE has very little map presence. He has these 2 Oracles, and that's really all that he has. And he's taking heavily. It's going to take a while here to get into his first Colossus and to get into his charge lots. We have a backup Phoenix on the way to help out. So ShoWTimE is vulnerable, and that push that we were talking about, it's about to hit. Upgrades are kicking in. +1 is done. Here comes the first double drop. We're keeping everything else back at home. We're still building up our forces, but the double drop is soon to hit. And is ShoWTimE going to have much to deal with it? We have an army. I'm chilling here at the 3rd base. Charge is about to finish up. And we may recall into the main. Thankfully, we do have a Phoenix patrolling, but the double drop is going to miss the Phoenix, or the Phoenix is going to miss the double drop. But the Observer won't. Notice ShoWTimE immediately does rotate over. Scan reveals it. Ryung is going to get a pylon, at least. Yeah, pylon. Going to get at least a pylon in the main before getting the hell out of there. But alas, not really the damage he was looking for. He wanted a little bit more out of that. Behind this, Ryung working on his 3rd TC. Meanwhile, ShoWTimE has his first Colossus. With the arrival of this Colossus, he should be safe and sound against any kind of bio push. I know that Ryung is consolidating his forces and could threaten a move out, but against this kind of army, especially on top of these ramps with sentries and force fields, no shot. There's no way we can break this. As long as ShoWTimE is, of course, paying attention. As stasis traps are being thrown down, 2nd Colossus is about to pop out as well. Up. Ryung, he does bait out some of those stasis traps. But the Revelation is thrown down. Again, we have 2 Colossi, and Ryung has to back off. 4th base is being snuck out. As the Widow Mines, they do go down. The 4th base is slowly going to get up and running, and Ryung is going to go for some drop play instead. Another stasis! Oh my, where are they're everywhere. The Phoenixes! ShoWTimE is all over this. Keeping up with Ryung at every turn. Shutting him down. He's of course lacking in Blink Stalkers, but he has plenty of Phoenixes. And Ryung is in some trouble. He is in some trouble as the armies will be pushing up this ramp. Mine gets baited out. It's gonna go down as well. And ShoWTimE actually retreats. He backs up. I'm a little bit surprised. Honestly, I think he could have kept going. Like, ShoWTimE is up in supply. He's got 3 Colossi. He's getting his 4th up and running as well. I was just drinking water. We're all good, Pap. You're all good. But yeah, ShoWTimE is just getting into the mid game here, being pretty passive actually. He's been threatening like the map itself. He's been moving out, yes, but he hasn't committed to any kind of major attack. He's content just chilling here on 4 bases, oversaturated, soon to take a 5th. Getting into double disruptor production, diversifying his splash damage. He's all over this, and it does feel like Ryung is 1 step behind here. He's got +1 ship weapons on the way. He's getting into Vikings, but ShoWTimE, he's already got his Colossus count. He's already got 3. From here, Ryung, he needs to start thinking about ghosts, not just ghosts, but also liberators as well, but we're not there yet. The armies are maxing. In a head-to-head fight, I want to give the edge to ShoWTimE if he brings everything together. But for now, it's going to be on Ryung to try to go for some split pushes and try to pull ShoWTimE apart. But, oh god, he's just... This is the ShoWTimE of old. It's literally, it's the Mao, it's the wall right now. We have cannons, shield batteries on the way, stasis traps. ShoWTimE is splitting up his army. He's expecting a counterattack. He's expecting a push of some kind. He's waiting for it. But Ryung, he's content to just chill. He's he's not giving him what he wants. Second starport is on the way. Fusion core as well. We were talking about liberators, and that's exactly what's on the horizon here for Ryung. Here we go, he's pushing. Big EMPs. Oof. But there's not enough here. Ryung, he does lose ground. Has to back off at the same time, pushing in on the left-hand side. But we have so much to defend. Oh my god. Cannons, shield batteries, a Colossus. Oh no! Thankfully, the ghost to escape, but Ryung does get caught. And so far, ShoWTimE has done a great job at just absorbing all these attacks. Mine shots go off, but don't quite bring anything down. Looking at the unit stat, we are up to 6 disruptors. At this point, I wouldn't be opposed to ShoWTimE even throwing down some Stargates and a Fleet Beacon, but instead we're going for DTs. Just another way to take up. As ShoWTimE is maxed. Oh, the Ghost! No! Ghost is gonna go down. Here we go, ShoWTimE gonna be threatening that push. At the same time, Ryung coming from behind. Also threatening us around. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. ShoWTimE, he cannot push up this ramp, otherwise he will be surrounded. So he has to retreat. There's one Colossus back at him to defend. But it's gonna be enough. And the armies just have been posturing, and because ShoWTimE has been so defensive and so passive, even though he's been the one that's been maxed out for the past couple of minutes, now Ryung, Lib range. Lib range is on the way. Liberators are in production as well. He is refining his army, and with the addition of all these Liberators, he's actually going to be able to go toe-to-toe with ShoWTimE. He will soon be able to fight him head-on. And there's the Fleet Beacon. There are the Stargates. Again, this is something that I would have liked to have seen earlier, when this 5th base was getting established. When we mentioned it, basically. So this could have been a little bit faster here from ShoWTimE. It's on the way nonetheless. But we'll see if it's too late. As Ryung is just killing his own units, making room for more Liberators. And it's all about Libs at this point. Libs, Ghosts, Vikings. Let's say Vikings, more the Bio Army. Here we go, the Freedom has arrived! The Freedom is here. Prism gonna be sneaking past the army. As Ryung does push forward the Novas! Decent splits, but some decent connections as well. As Ryung is trying to gain ground here, threatening this base. And ShoWTimE, he just can't push into the Freedom zones. Cannot push in. The Libs just edging ever closer here onto the bases. At the same time, we do see ShoWTimE, he hasn't moved this army. But this base is going to go down. You can see that Ryung, he just bullies the army back. There's no way to push in. No way to engage. Not without some Skydoss. And there it is, we're making 3 Tempests at a time. And that is the answer to Liberators. We bring the Tempest forward. Base goes down. Tempest has been revealed, and we're going straight for the main. Oh my god. Going straight for a Doom Drop into the main base. And we can potentially dive on top of these Stargates. On top of the production. Plus 3 ship weapons are on the way. 1 Stargate goes down. The Fleet Beacon as well. Big Picos here from Ryung. Getting a lot of tech. Up. The Nova's. The Nova's not quite connecting. And Ryung is losing a lot here. This is what, like 7 Liberators going down? We get the Dark Triad. We do get the Dark Shrine in the end. Another army here on the left-hand side, trying to deny these bases. The Freedom has arrived, and we will force a cancel. Ryung is doing quite a lot here. Another Medivacs! Medivacs are being hunted down, and we lost a lot in this trade. We lost 8 Liberators. Lost some Ghosts, Vikings, Marines, the rest of this drop as well. We barely do get the Cyber Core towards the end. And there's only 1 Stargate left. The Fleet Beacon hasn't been rebuilt. Sorry, 2 Stargates. Fleet Beacon hasn't been rebuilt. We're still hyperfixated on a ground army, which means making more starports, making more libs. This is the right call. This is the right call to make. Because ShoWTimE is triple expanding. Taking every base he can all at once. All he needs is one of them to get up and running. And Ryung, he has to lick his wounds as well. He threw away a lot of supply. It's going to take him a little bit longer to really be active once again. And here comes ShoWTimE. Collapsing on this army. The Tempests are going ham. We need to deal with these Tempests. A decent EMP catches 2 of them. But where are the Vikings? Where the Vikings, where's the anti-air? We do force a cancel on one of these next eye. And we can keep pushing. Meanwhile, Planetary finishes, but it's going to be going down. The Liberators are doing what they can, but the Tempests, they make short work of them. And Ryung is going to be losing his entire army down here. He's racing back home. As we actually force a recall. Oh my god. Does force a recall. But Ryung, I feel like he's in control here. We're making more Vikings, more Liberators. We've been denying so many bases. ShoWTimE finally getting a 5th base up and running, which has been scanned. ShoWTimE double expanding once again. Pushing on the left-hand side. The Liberators are out of position. And Planetary is going to be going down. Ryung going for a base raid instead. And get some cannons, get some Nexus. Ah, sorry. I'll get some water after this. I'll get some water. As I do see ShoWTimE pushing on through. We're going for a base raid essentially. We're going full base raid at this point. Scratch that. wait, we're coming back home. ShoWTimE turning back around. That's 4. What do we have left? We have 4 Colossi, 3 Tempest, a couple of Disruptors. The DT is going ham. We do have a scan, thankfully. And Ryung, he doesn't have to commit, but here we go. The Vikings going ham here, going straight for the Tempest, actually. 1 finally goes down. After so long, 1 Tempest will fall, but we still have 2 left. And ShoWTimE, he can keep on pushing. Everything's just rotating over. ShoWTimE barely has 1 base mining here towards the top left, and not for too long. That's what's terrifying, is that ShoWTimE, he doesn't have any mining happening at the moment. He's running out of money. He's so heavily oversaturated here. He's up in workers, but again, no mining going on. It's going to be a kill, not a cancel on the Nexus. Ryung rotating everything over. Ryung, he's up in army supply. He's got mules. He's up to, how many? 6 Vikings, 9 Libs. And we're just forcing the army back. And we're zoning ShoWTimE away from his real mining base. Barely has anything left. The Archon, oh my, that's a lot of Archons. As they're breaking on in. Decent EMPs though. But there's just too much on the ground. ShoWTimE, he is barely breaking through. We had like 10 Archons and 2 survive, but everything else busts through as well. And Ryung, he lost his entire army. He's racing back home. He had all these libs here on the right-hand side. They weren't helping. We needed those liberators. The ghost as well. And ShoWTimE, now he can push out. I don't think we can push up this ramp, but regardless. Denying another one of these bases. Good pickoffs overall from Ryung. Oh, can we finally get the Tempest? Barely not. ShoWTimE is looking for a way up this ramp towards the third base, but the freedom! So many liberation zones are forcing ShoWTimE back once again. The Marauders, they don't quite get a kill in this space. We're going to be main-arting our probes over. ShoWTimE, can he get on top of these bases? Can he deny this mining? There's barely anything to defend. But this is keeping ShoWTimE in this. Keeping his economy alive. Oh no, the medevac! No! Medevac is being shut down. We're catching a couple of workers here and there, but it looks like for the most part, ShoWTimE, he has just surpassed Ryung here. Ryung has been staying on a very low worker count. He barely has any mining left himself. He cannot max out. ShoWTimE can. Here we go. Big EMPs on the army. Massive EMP. Oh, the Novas! Not quite connecting. A good fight from Ryung. Like, he still has a massive army. It's one of those things that we've spoken about before where Ryung has a massive army, but he doesn't have the economy to really sustain himself. So he's got some good fights. He has some good fights in him, but not much more than that. He has to make them count. We're getting back into Tempest production. Tempest on the way once again, denying mining here at the planetary. Ryung going for his own counterattack as well. There's one shield, and we can go for the base. We force a recall. Stalkers and Archons, they do come back home. ShoWTimE doing a great job of just zoning out his opponents and denying so much mining time here at this forward base. ShoWTimE up, ShoWTimE EMPs, but one ghost goes down. Ay, ay, ay. There's a lot of potential here, and we get some decent liberation zones. But this planetary, I feel like we just can't really get it up and running. Not against all these Tempests. How many do we have now? 5. 7 Tempests. Oh my god. We were struggling to deal with 3, and now we have 7. Meanwhile, Ryung finally gets in. Remember, recall is on cooldown. Ryung may lose the base, but he's getting a base here towards the top left. Nexus is going to go down. We're diving in. I'm not too sure about this. Not so sure here as we just collapse on the Terran army. Archons are going ham. Lives after reposition, and it's just too little too late. ShoWTimE swallows Ryung up. And that's all he had left. I mean, he has the army towards the top left, which is racing back home, but that was every single Liberator. And ShoWTimE is snowballing out of control. He has 2 bases mining, barely. down to 35 probes. He's going to be forced to chase these SCVs down. Ryung is buying some time to rebuild, remax. Looking at the army tab, he has one Liberator left. One Lib. Aye, aye, aye. And 3 Vikings? Yeah, 3 Vikings remaining. That's the problem. Like, I don't see a world where he can actually get on top of the Tempest, let alone the rest of the army. But even the Tempest on their own are terrifying. And with that, ShoWTimE has run away with this. It was close. It was quite a back and forth, actually. A surprising back and forth. But Ryung, he had his moments this game. But it was not enough. A +3 air weapons kicking in for ShoWTimE. It's going to rotate around towards that third base. Like, there's a world, if maybe these Tempests get caught out of position, then maybe we can kill some of them, but until then, good positioning from ShoWTimE, just pulling back, preserving his units, getting his bases back up and running, reprobing, now up to 45. Ryung just maybe hoping to catch a couple of stray units here and there. He's checking top left once again, but there's nothing here. And ShoWTimE, he's just taking some of Ryung's bases at this point. That's a lot of cannons. And yeah, basically ShoWTimE is just fortifying himself here in the bottom right hand corner of the map. These bases, and Ryung, he is slowly building up an army, but it's mainly Marine Marauder, just because it's cheap. Making more Marines, but against this kind of army, it's not ideal. Here we go, ShoWTimE, he is pushing, he dives into the Planetary. Planetary is gonna fall. And this is gonna be the last defense here for Ryung, his final stand. As ShoWTimE takes down the third base, and he can keep pushing. There's one ghost with this army, a couple of Vikings. But ShoWTimE, he doesn't want to get caught off guard. Backs up, catches a couple of Marines. I was about to say, oh, ShoWTimE scanned the army. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's not. Just making sure we're keeping up with the movement of ShoWTimE at least. Ryung is trying to keep up, trying to keep pace. You know, he's slowly making more Vikings, to be fair. The problem is that ShoWTimE is maxed, and he's building up a bank, which means even if he takes a fight that doesn't go amazingly for him, we can always rebuild, and Ryung's still not maxed. Still working on it. Get some server. Does at least get an observer. Another base is being taken. That's the main. Main being lifted up. Landed towards the top left. The armies may be forced to clash. I do think that ShoWTimE can be a little bit more assertive, 100%. Like, there's nothing stopping ShoWTimE from pushing in, outside of the fear of Ryung having a maxed out army. This is something to bear in mind, is that ShoWTimE doesn't know the economic state of Ryung and how large the army is. So he's been very respectful, been very cautious with how he engages. Tempest just whittling away at the army. Another base is going to be going down. And ShoWTimE is just going for those fresh mining bases for what little is left of the economy of Ryung. SCV is going to be going down, and he has to fight, he has to engage. There's no turning back. And the first flank of Ryung's army does fall almost immediately. He's trying to engage. Good EMPs on those Archons. We're getting on top of the Tempest, but the ground army. The Colossus are breaking through. The Tempest still going ham, and Ryung barely doesn't have enough. GG gets called. ShoWTimE will take game number 1. GG. GG, well played. A solid game there at a ShoWTimE. It was back and forth for quite some time, but eventually we saw that Ryung just wasn't able to stop the economy of ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE was able to successfully get into Skytoss as well, get into this Tempest, and have his way with Ryung. GG. GG, well played. And with that, he takes the lead. That was only game 1, though. That was only game 1. We still have at least one more ahead of us. Hopefully more than that, hopefully. As our next game is going to be on Solaris. As from here, as soon as we get in the lobby, okay, one moment. I am going to quickly get some water. One moment. Okay, we're back. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Solaris, we have the German Protoss player representing Berlin International Gaming, leading the series 1-0. It is ShoWTimE. And spawning in the top right, and also in the bottom portion of the map, going for a proxy racks, we have the South Korean Terran representing onside. It is Ryung. Here we go. We are going for said we're going for said Raxes here. As yeah, with this it should just be a proxy Reaper from Ryung. Just a single SV moves out. So not the most committed proxy here from our Terran player. I'm curious if we're gonna double down and actually commit to something else as well. As ShoWTimE comes in for a scout, and ShoWTimE confirms that the Rax is indeed missing. Where did we go, Pappy? Where did we go? And there it is, just going to be Proxy Reaper. The SCV is sticking around. I'm curious if we're just going to be waiting to go in and maybe throw down a bunker behind the mineral patch, which is typically what this SCV is designed for. Throw down a bunker and deny extra mining, but for now we're just going to be chilling, just going to be patrolling. There it is, factory back at home. I was keeping my eye out to see if we were going to be going for like a proxy factory. This could still be a proxy starport actually, to go for like a Heliantra. There is potential with this, as we are floating that Rax back, and there it is. There, oh my, Ryung. He is a bit of a Dolan fan here, as this is going to be an all-in. Let's go. A very trendy all-in. Now, if you've been tuning in, this is how Dolan beat Hero in ESL Americas. We did cast this yesterday, of course, in ESL Americas. Ooh, Reaper does go down. But Oliveira also did this against Trigger in WTL a couple of weeks ago. I believe Beyond did this as well. It's been going through the scene, going through a lot of these top-tier Terran players. Dolan, Oliveira, Beyond, and now Ryung as well. So the way this works is it's an add-on swap, and we should be making 6... Oh, this is the Hellion version. Okay. We should be going for an add-on swap here for Cyclones, Unless this is the Hellbat all-in variation. There are two different ones. One is Heli and the other is Cyclone. But I imagine this is going to be Cyclones here. And we should be making 4 Cyclones at a time. There we go, 2 here at the proxy location and 2 here in the main. 4 at a time, and going mass Cyclone here. And if this goes unscouted, if ShoWTimE doesn't piece together what's going on, then this is going to snowball out of control. Ay. I want to say, am I crazy? I think Bjorn was the first to do this in GS. Well, did Bjorn do this in GSL? I want to say he did. I want to believe. Until then, Hellions are going to be forced back. There it is. We have our first wave of Cyclones just building up here towards the south. Oh, it's going to be a Stargate opener from ShoWTimE. We're building up the Phoenixes, which is okay. Of course, Phoenixes, they can CC and crowd control some of these Cyclones. That's true, but there's just going to be so many of them. More than anything, we need shield batteries. We need shield batteries, an overcharge, multiple shield batteries, not just one as well. But ShoWTimE just doesn't really know what's going on. He hasn't gone in for a follow-up scout. Has been banking up these Phoenixes back at home instead of moving. And as a result, this is going to come in as a surprise. ShoWTimE has no idea. There's 0 shield batteries. I was talking about at least 2. We have 0 shield batteries here at the natural. The boys have been pulled. These Phoenixes have no idea what's going on. And Ryung rocks up with his army. We have probes versus SCVs. Ay. Pylon is exposed, and it's going to be a miracle here if ShoWTimE can shut this down. We do pick up some of these Cyclones. One of them is going to be falling, maybe a second as well. These Stalkers are doing a lot of damage here in the back line. Oof. But there's still 3 Cyclones remaining. And we have killed the entire mineral line. That's 19 workers going down. We break the natural base. ShoWTimE trying to build up his forces in the main instead. We have an Immortal in production. Meanwhile, Ryung, he needs to push in. Like, killing the natural base is not good enough. He needs some urgency here. The more he waits, the closer we get to this Immortal. Ryung, he backs off. He's waiting for another round of reinforcements. He's not feeling too confident. And the Immortal arrives. Can we pull this off here? Again, the boys, they do dive on top of these Stalkers in the end, and we still have plenty. We still have plenty of Cyclones remaining. We can overwhelm and overpower this Immortal. And with that, everything will fall. GG gets called. Ryung ties up the series 1-1. GG. And that's worked better than normal. And a big reason for that, as we saw, no scout out of ShoWTimE. He had no idea. There we go. He had no idea what was happening. He had no idea what was coming his way. And alas, ShoWTimE was completely blindsided by Ryung's one base all-in. Again, this build, we've seen it from a lot of Terran players already, but it still isn't common. I don't think I would go that far. It's still like popping up like once a week sort of thing, you know, once, maybe twice a week sort of thing. I know Dolan did it yesterday, but like even then, like it's still irregular and still something that isn't at the forefront of Protoss players' minds, not yet. So I'm sure as it kind of rises in popularity, more Protoss players are going to be more aware to scout and be a little bit more vigilant about getting an eye on things, making sure that, you know, there isn't a one base all-in coming. We've already seen this fail. Trigger, I recommend if you're a Protoss player out there and if you're like, oh my god, that's crazy, that's disgusting, tune into Trigger versus Oliveira on Oceanborn in WTL. Trigger completely shut this down, but also like he was able to recognize what was happening ahead of time, and yeah, Trigger, he defended against this beautifully. But now we're getting into game number 3, into the ace match. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the German Protoss player representing Berlin International Gaming being forced into the ace match. It is ShoWTimE. And spawning in the top left, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player representing onside. It is Ryung. If I remember correctly, specifically Trigger, he didn't scout the proxy, but he did scout the one base all-in. is what Trigger did, and it looked like he was going for a Hellion response. So Trigger, the way that he defended, he fully walled off, he got shield batteries of course, did respond with a Robo, and he chronoed out his Immortal as well, and he was able to muster up a big enough army at his natural to actually hold on and defend. Again, it was really impressive. I remember Asher, we were casting it at the time, and we were like, clearly this is not Trigger's first time. Like, he was forged in the flames of NA, Bobby. He knows about the cheese. But now we're making it here into game number 3, into the ace match. And so far, so good. The Rax is back at home this time. Ryung looking to go for an economic opener. SCV is moving out, is going to be, this time, not delaying that expansion. As ShoWTimE does go for a low ground wall, so even if there was an attempted eBay block, ShoWTimE would be there to stop it. So, yeah, very solid setup here from our Protoss. Now, the downside to this is that he doesn't have his SimCity set up to defend and wall off the ramp, so the Reaper can dive into the main. But the advantage of this is that if there was an eBay block, then ShoWTimE would be in position to scout it and to deny it as well. Specifically, a big reason for this is because eBay blocks on this map it's terrifying. It's very difficult to defend your bases here if you're split up between your main and your third base, whether it's the linear third or the triangular third. It's why earlier today we saw Oliveira also go for the eBay block on this very map. It didn't work. If you were here for it, it was brutal, but ShoWTimE was able to shut Oliveira down. But again, like, it can still be quite devastating. So ShoWTimE is aware of that, gets his base on location, and he's going for a Twilight Council this time, not a Stargate. Again, the kind of third base locations are a little more exposed on this map, which is why you see a more rise in popularity in eBay blocks. But last here, we're just getting into our 1-on-1 follow-up. CC on the low ground here for Ryung. And he's going for a traditional mine drop. Like, very standard play here out of our Terran player. Looking at his vision, he still hasn't seen the tech. He's not fully aware of what's going on. Reaper just scouting around, just looking for proxies, making sure that everything is on the up and up before he does move out across the map. And again, a lot of this for Ryung is going to be based around scouting. Even this mine drop, ideally it gets some worker kills, don't get me wrong, but more than anything, he needs to get a read on what exactly is happening from the side of ShoWTimE. We dive in, we scout. We do spot the Twilight Council and the researching as well. So Ryung is fully aware of Blink. And what kind of Blink? Well, it's going to be 2 gates. 2 gateways into a third base. Very economic here from ShoWTimE. He's going to have a handful of Stalkers to defend, but for the most part, he should be lacking map control. He shouldn't really be able to threaten his opponent, and should be more focused on just establishing these bases and defending his mineral lines, as the mine drop is moving out. Oh! Did forget one of our mines for a moment there, but it's okay. Going to be going for a triple mine drop here towards that natural. Now, a triple mine drop can be a little bit scary, especially if Ryung hides and, like, keeps that third Widow Mine in that medevac a little bit longer, just to fake out his opponents and make him believe that only 2 mines drop and then a third one comes in out of nowhere. So ShoWTimE has to be a little bit careful, as he does have his army in position. Blink is about to finish up in a couple of seconds, just in time as well, and it comes in with the hallucination. It does confirm the 2-on-1 setup. Mine drop comes in. Up. Oh my god. That's 2 mines in the natural. We have 1 mine in the main base, and is ShoWTimE looking? He does pull back just in time. Only losing 2 Widow Mines in total. 2 mines, sorry, 2 Widow Mines, what? Only losing 2 probes in total. 3 mines for 2 workers, a good trade for ShoWTimE. Meanwhile, the medevac, of course, didn't really see much in the main or the natural, but that should be a tell that there's a third base. Just confirming the lack of additional gateways and the lack of additional tech. So Ryung, he does confirm what is going on, does confirm the economic build of ShoWTimE, and he's just getting into his own setup here back at home. Meanwhile, we can see the trajectory that ShoWTimE is taking us in is not going into Colossus, is going Blink Stalkers into Charge Lot Archon instead. Oh my god. Charge our Archon and we are rushing into Storm. I just love that Storm has become a lot more popular as of late. Less so Colossus. There was a time where, what, 70-80% of TVPs was Phoenix Colossus from the Protoss, and nowadays it's more of a rarity. Much more of a rarity, and I do appreciate the diversity that we're getting in this matchup. Feels good, man. Especially after like 2 or 3 years of Phoenix Colossus. Like we're done, Pat. We're done. Aye. Forges are on the way for upgrades, of course. ShoWTimE getting fully saturated, already warping in some High Templar, gathering up energy. And my eyes are now on Ryung. As he is not setting up for a 2-base all-in, third CC is almost done at this point. He's going to be moving out with a double drop, but more than anything, he's just looking to apply some pressure and expand behind it. So, after a pretty chaotic game number 2 that ended very quickly, we have a much more standard and more macro-oriented game 3, which I appreciate. I do appreciate it. Even more so than game 1. Even though game 1 went to the late game, if you remember, Ryung did have a very aggressive opener. He had a very delayed third CC. If you remember, he went up to 5 Raxes before his third CC, and it's going to be a little bit delayed here. Forcing the drop back home. But yeah, Ryung, he fell behind economically in game 1, which is why he was kind of stuck at home until he was maxed out. Here he can be a little bit more active. The Storm jump! Ooh. Storms, they will connect. 7, 8 SCVs go down. And what's important, the medevac, the Warp Prism and the High Templar survive. They survive to Storm another day. Of course, Storm now has been revealed. Ryung fully aware. Going straight for the Ghost Academy. Attempting to go for his own mind drop, but alas, doesn't make it in. Here we go. Ryung gonna be pushing. He does not have intervention matrix. He only has the auto turret and the anti-armor missile. Scans ahead of time. He sees all the High Templar. He doesn't want to deal with this. Does pull back. Doesn't really have an answer for this. And yeah, ShoWTimE is in a pretty good position. He's on 3 bases. He's getting into double rover production. A little bit supply blocked. Quite heavily supply blocked, actually. But eventually he'll break free and he can get into his Colossus. Just diversifying his splash damage. Spreading out just his AoE. And yeah, ShoWTimE is looking quite solid here, and we could see a repeat of game 1 where we end up in like a 4-base versus 4-base split map. End up getting maxed, and yeah, we'll see if we get a repeat, or we'll see if Ryung can get his revenge. As we're just going to be slowly expanding, taking our 4th bases. 4th for ShoWTimE, 4th also on the way for Ryung. This time Ryung is a lot faster getting into Vikings. Viking production is commencing alongside the Ghosts. If you recall, in game 1, Ryung, he was a little bit late to the party when it came to Liberators. He was 1 step behind as he was getting Liberators. We already had a Disruptor-based army, and ShoWTimE was already maxed. We'll see how this does turn out. Prism does get caught out. Good snipe on the Warp Prism. Forces out a Storm as well. At least the High Templar do survive. They're going to be able to float away. Get the hell out of there. Recall back home. For the most part, though, the game is kind of settling here. 4th base now being taken by Ryung. Throwing down 2 more CCs, his 5th and his 6th. This 4th is going to be difficult to hold on to. This is, of course, a very exposed base. It's right next to high ground here that ShoWTimE can use to his advantage. Can, of course, attack from multiple angles as well. And as Ryung is expanding, ShoWTimE is now moving up. Both armies are now maxed. There's that fusion core on the way. 2nd starport. Liberator production is on the horizon here for Ryung. He's already working on it. And ShoWTimE doesn't have any disruptors. So just Colossus with a gateway army. And Ryung is going for a split push. He's moving on the right hand side. He does come across that Prism once again. And Prism is going to go down. Big anti-armor missile on the army as well. And as Ryung backs up, he's working his way through on the left hand side. He's going straight for the 4th base. High Templar, they are spotted. Oh, he wants them. He wants the High Templar, and he will catch them as well. Big EMP gets 3 of them. ShoWTimE out of position. Is he committing? Base trade? Ryung is coming back. He's coming back home. We do have 1 full NG High Templar in this army. ShoWTimE, though, very prone to being surrounded. He has to be very careful with how he moves. Catches a couple of Marauders. Gets on top of a building CC. And here comes the surround. Good feedback on that Raven. Storms as well, zoning back. Oh my god, massive storms on this army. But over on left-hand side as well, ShoWTimE, he's pushing through. Maybe I spoke too soon. As the Colossi, they barely do live. They barely do survive. Ryung amassing his army. A lot of the shields are now stripped from this army as well. As they're pushing into tank fire. And ShoWTimE just trying to force his way in. Gets a first tank, gets a second tank as well. The Colossus a little bit distracted by the mineral line. Ryung is holding just barely. Liberators are arriving just in time as well. But you can see ShoWTimE, he doesn't want to back off. He reinforces. We have disruptors now on the way. War Prism as well. He does retreat to the center of the map, taking another base behind this. Now, what's scary is that Ryung didn't really lose an economy, or his economy. He lost 4 SCVs. That's it. 4 SCVs, a couple of orbitals. But outside of that, Ryung, he maintains a solid economy, which means he can also remax. Liberators, they have arrived. A bit of an overextension. 1 lib does fall. God, we're up to 5 Colossus. As we're going ham on this planetary, a lot of work is going to be going down. The Marauders, they still went forward. And we managed to get 1 Colossus. It took everything for 1 Colossus, and that's just not good enough. The entire base goes down. The mineral line as well. And ShoWTimE, he can just retreat. He's up 30 workers. And Ryung, he doesn't have a bank. Not anymore. Just catch a ghost. ShoWTimE is just not allowing Ryung to breathe. The Liberators, they get here just a little bit too late. They're being focused out. Big storm here on the army once again. And another massive storm, and Ryung, he's just melting here against the splash damage. GG gets called. ShoWTimE will break through, and he will take the series 2-1, taking down Ryung. Whew, GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. I should update the score on the screen. There we go. Congratulations to ShoWTimE as he does take down Ryung 2-1. Went all the way to the ace match, but honestly, once ShoWTimE got his own stable economy, once he got up to 4 bases, he was looking so damn solid, both in Game 1 and in Game 3 as well. Did definitely look more confident and more in control once he was, of course, in that game state. And yeah, he was able to just overcome and overpower Ryung. On the other side of Ryung, it was a little bit unfortunate. You know, the storm drop was able to do a lot of damage, was able to give ShoWTimE a lead early on, was able to lead into some map control as well. And yeah, we had a really awkward engagement, right? Like when Ryung, he was trying to come in from multiple angles. He was trying to collapse on the army itself, but couldn't quite pull that off. Also taking big storms to the face, and that did end up leading into a big win there for ShoWTimE in the end. GG, congratulations. Big wins here from ShoWTimE, taking down Oliveira and Ryung. Pretty solid PvT out of ShoWTimE, but what about his other matchups? What about his PvZ? Because Up next, we have a Zerg opponent. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys wish to have a look at the bracket yourselves, because we have some catching up to do. From the top, Abby, from the top.